performance. I thought it was a complete game for our football team. Certainly there are things that you can do better. We want to communicate a little bit better. We had some false start penalties and some communication errors, but by and large, looking at the positives, got off to a great start. A couple of 3-and-outs, I think, set the momentum for the game offensively. You know, you want to turn every possession into a touchdown, but you know, getting up 17-0, and then playing, you know, consistently on both sides of the ball. I thought we were physical. I thought our presence in terms of just the overall perimeter play, tackling on the perimeter was much better, and playing the ball in the air. So the little things that we're looking for progress, we're starting to see that. And then, you know, the quarterback is playing at such an elite level. You know, he threw an interception, so he is human. You know, he was expecting another route to be run in that situation, and it didn't happen. They were actually, we had somebody blocking on the play. So, again, you know, Jaden Daniels has been amazing in terms of what he's doing. I think everybody knows that, you know, leads the nation in total offense, passing efficiency. You know, I think the offense in itself and what they're doing, 6 consecutive games of over 500 yards. So, you know, it's fun to watch an offense like that. I hope for our fans, they're taking it in. I know 2019 is still, you know, a trendsetter because it led to a national championship, and rightfully so. I mean, those were great players, but you should not take this for granted. This is pretty remarkable stuff.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Chase with Jace. As always, I'm your host, Jace LeJeune, and unfortunately, we're not able to have Marcus Randall or Ron Brooks today, but I guess we have to settle for Grant Chachere today. Is that right, Grant?
It's for the better. It's not plan C. It's okay. It's not like Chase wasn't playing D or E or F or G or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad I'm here. Talk a little LSU football. Mess with this guy. I'm probably gonna make fun of him the whole entire show.
Probably so.
But he's gonna make fun of me. It's all good fun. But we're here to talk LSU football, and I'm glad to be here again.
Yeah, glad that you're able to come here, Grant. And by the way, I know Grant works for us and writes a lot of high school football, but he also does cover LSU. I see Grant a lot of times in the press box at LSU on Saturdays and covers in the Valley Shook. He writes LSU football there. So before we get started and talk about LSU football, just talk about the experience of writing for In the Valley Shook and just what kind of projects y'all got coming up.
The thing about In the Valley Shook because it's a group of people. It's really run by Zach Junda, who actually lives in Nashville, but he went to LSU, big time LSU fan. He allows us to write about LSU whatever we want to, and he really does, and I've always had a good relationship with him. We cover the Omaha together, so it was a pretty good experience. I got to meet him in person for the first time, but he's a great guy, and there's some other guys too, or some great writers, including Zach Toscano, who covers a lot of football. You also used to coach a little bit, at UConn and whatever, but. He's awesome to read too because he really breaks down the game. That's a Zach Toscano. It's Max Toscano. I'm kind of excited to be here, guys. So it's just it's one of those things. I'm glad Jace brought me on the show.
Yeah. I have a heart after all.
Yeah. But after all, even though I give him a lot of stuff, he still seems to always invite me. I don't know. Maybe he's a masochist. I don't know, Grant.
But yeah, let's talk about it though. Big win for LSU this past Saturday against Auburn, 48-18, and by the way, this is a win that we're not really used to seeing LSU beat Auburn like that. In fact, that's the second largest lopsided victory by LSU going back to the 2011 game with the alternate uniforms LSU had was the most lopsided game. But really, not at one point during the game, Grant, I'm not sure you had the same feeling or not, but not at one point during the game you feel like LSU was really threatened in this football game from the opening kickoff.
No, that's going in this game. I think a lot of people thought this game was going to be close because Auburn LSU is a game that's always played on crack.
Yeah.
Maybe I should mention maybe I should mention drug on the show, but that's what it was. The game was on literal crack all the time. No matter how good Auburn is, no matter how good LSU is, the both teams can be 0-11. That game's always played on crack. Speaking of like last year, a lot of people thought LSU was going to blow them off the water because Auburn at the time, remember, they're going through the whole should we fire the coach, should we not fire the coach of Harsin. And, at first LSU was down 14-0 at one point.
Yeah, they were. Yep.
Yeah, so, and then we ended up coming back and winning the game. But then Jane Daniels got hurt in the fourth quarter. Coy Moore was the player of the game for LSU, throwing a pick and losing a fumble. That game was played on crack, but you can go back to previous games. The Jamie Howard 5-interception game in the fourth quarter. The barn burner, the earthquake game. Flynn the Bird.
Flynn the Bird,
also, you could also mention 2021.
Yeah, the comeback game.
The comeback game with what's his name, Bo Nix. Bo Nix, for some reason, turns into the prime Johnny Manziel whenever he faces LSU, and that's exactly what he did. And it wasn't the game that led to Coach O being fired, but it was the literal nail in the coffin.
Right.
Because everyone knew that he was going to get fired in the midseason.
Yeah.
Because you got Kentucky, you had a tough schedule ahead of yourselves. But going back to the Auburn game, I did not expect this at all. I thought it was going to be a little closer game. Maybe LSU was going to pull away late, but no. From the get-go, LSU was just the better team. I really did not expect Auburn, going into the season to be this bad in offense. I thought I knew they were going to struggle, but you thought they're going to be better.
Yeah, I found it really surprising too because you have an offensive mind in Hugh Freeze that he can draw them up as good as anybody out there in the country, and it just shows you it's a process right now. And the first year replacing Brian Harsin, as you mentioned the game. Even the 2019 team, as dominant as that team was for LSU, their worst game of the year was against Auburn. So, it just was one of those games that matter, like you said, throw the records out the window. You expect a really good football game through and through. And really, LSU, if you look back at it, it was refreshing to see LSU start off the game clicking. Because, when covering LSU the last 2 years, we've seen LSU get off to slow starts, and to see them get that quick score, you get a quick score from Daniels to Malik Neighbors, and your defense forces a 3 and out. You're like, okay, the fans, everybody, all the writers are like, we're not really expecting this from LSU out the gate, but LSU really put their foot on Auburn from the get go and carried forward.
Yeah, and then also, speaking of LSU, the most shocking thing to me about this game was not how much they dominated, but how well the offense played. It was 563 yards of total offense and 66 plays. They also had 325 pass yards, which was expected because that's
Jane Daniels, right?
But they also ran for 238, and Auburn's defense, by the way, isn't bad. They're actually one of the better defenses in the SEC. But the fact that LSU was able to move so efficiently without going through the heart of Auburn's defense was the most shocking thing of all. Yeah. Everyone knew the offense was going to struggle because Auburn's offense usually struggles against D1 opponents for some weird reason, like Power 5 opponents. But, and so I knew they were going to struggle, but I was really shocked about the way how efficient LSU's offense was from the get-go.
Because that's a really good Auburn defense, and that's what a lot of people kind of realize. Ron Roberts, the DC over there, and they've really given, and that's what a lot of people got to realize. Oh, Auburn's not good this year. LSU, they're supposed to beat the doors off them. They gave Georgia all they could handle. It took a late score by Georgia, by Brock Bowers, to win the night.
No, it wasn't Georgia. It was literally Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
right. It was just Brock Bowers. They couldn't stop Brock Bowers.
Yeah, pretty much. And we'll see how Georgia moves moving forward without Brock Bowers. So that's going to be even more interesting. But offensively, like you mentioned, Grant, it was really about strength on strength and weakness on weakness. But both times, LSU, they won out. The LSU offense, as you mentioned with Jane Daniels, over 325 yards passing, had 3 touchdowns, had the 1 interception, but there was a little bit of a lull in between, late in the second quarter. But really, besides that, LSU just had touchdown after touchdown. They scored on all their touchdown drives in the second half. And what makes this offense even more explosive, have Jay and Daniels throw for 330, run for almost 100 yards. But really, Brian Thomas wasn't really a major factor in that football game, only 2 catches, but it just shows you how many weapons LSU can rely on, because Malik Neighbors had a great game, but it was really encouraging to see Kyron Lacey had the performance that he had.
Yeah, and Kyron Lacey, in my opinion, probably was the player of the game on offense. It's easy to give it to Jane Daniels because Jane just one throwing the ball and he's Jane Daniels. But Kyron Lacey really probably had the best game of not only his time in LSU, this season or his time at LSU, but also like his career. He's never had a 100-yard receiving game before.
Right.
So, I mean, the fact he was able to ball out, and he had that one bad drop. I mean, that's one thing about Kyron Lacey. His time at LSU's been known for just dropping balls, and that's something
You have to live with.
Yeah, and he's like, and it's something we gotta live with. But also, he acknowledges the problem. He's trying to fix it. And like, he's trying to fix it. It's not like he's not working hard. He's trying to fix it. It's just that we have to acknowledge that he's not the best pass catcher in the world.
Most consistent.
Not the best, but the most consistent.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. Consistent. Because he is a player. We saw that during the spring. He balled out during the spring game. We saw it during fall practice. But when the season started, he wasn't consistent like he was during the offseason. But this might be the game where he turns it around. I hope he does. He's a good guy. He's a great player. He works hard every day at practice.
Incredible after the catch. He's incredible after the catch.
No, yeah, and he's an incredible athlete. And he's a lot faster than a lot of people think. So I think I hope this game's like a stepping stone towards the right direction because he could be the true number 3 guy. Because the problem with LSU right now is they have 2 number 1s.
Yeah.
Obviously neighbors, and they obviously have PTJ. But you need a third receiver, and I think this is Kyron Lacey's way of showing, hey, don't forget about me. I'm the number 3 the true number 3 receiver.
Right.
Which is nothing to be ashamed of. Being the number 3 receiver is a great thing.
Especially in an offense like this.
Right, exactly. And because you're getting the slot, you're going to get a lot of balls thrown your way. So.
And it's good to see him take advantage of that. Obviously Mason Taylor, he's always another option you can rely on. Hopefully for Chris Hilton, he gets back on the field and he's healthy because he's another one.
And that's the thing. Chris Hilton has been one of those players where, it's just people forget. Like he is probably like when I was watching him in high school. Like the very first time I watched Chris Hilton was the state championship against West Monroe, which I think you told me you were also there at that game too.
I was.
But he had over 100 yards receiving. He had the 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown. So he was always a great player. Not in his high school, but you saw his potential. Like he could be a speedster on the field. And whenever he's on the field. He's shown to be a great player. It's just that he got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy, and that's just been his issue. And it sucks, but when he's on the field and when he's healthy, he's a threat.
Yeah, he really is. But it was good to see. I feel like the running back room, we were praising Logan Diggs all season. He is proven to be the bell cow. He is your starting running back. But I thought this was the best how they manage all the running backs all year long because you still featured John Emery out of the backfield, him making plays. You still had Caleb Williams getting a lot of plays there. He's returning kicks, get him involved. And then on third down, when they need pass protection, when they need a dump-off guy to throw it on third down or get some tough yardage, they bring Josh Williams in there. I thought Frank Wilson and how that coaching staff managed the running back room this past Saturday, I thought that was phenomenal, using all of their skill sets, but at the same time, letting Logan Diggs still be in the every down back.
Right, and I think that's when I think after really, in my opinion, you probably should have played the Florida State game and rested the Grambling State because I think it would have made a big difference. That's what you live on. So,
right.
But the very next week, you got a chance against Grambling, and it was very clear he was the starting running back. It was very clear from the get go. His first touch, like, okay, this guy's different from the other guys. Not saying the other guys aren't bad players, because Josh Williams is a hell of a player.
Right.
Given what he did for us last season. And then Caleb Jackson, it seems to be the star running back.
Has the highest ceiling.
Right, has the highest ceiling. Yeah, he has a chance to be the next star running back for LSU. But it's just right now, Logan Diggs is a guy who's going to help you win games. And Logan Diggs has proven that. And he looks like an NFL back out there. He may not be the fastest running back in the world, but he's effective. And he makes people miss. It's hard to tackle him. And he not only showed that his time at Notre Dame, because he was a great running back at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Ran for 800 yards last year. But he also was a great high school back as well, because we both saw him at Rummel.
Yeah, Rummel. Yeah,
in the New Orleans area. So he's always been he's a great player. But like we said, John Emery. I really liked what I saw of John Emery. 6 rushes, 42 yards, and a touchdown. And he also had a reception for 49 yards.
What a great play design too.
Right.
I was talking about that was an excellent play design by Mike Denbrock on that play.
Oh yeah. And that's the play that broke the game open, in my opinion, because since that play, it was just all LSU. But it's nice to see John Emery again. We all know about about John Emery's history at LSU. We all know about his academic issues.
He always goes off against Auburn.
He always goes off against Auburn for
Yeah.
some weird reason. I guess it's just Auburn. Like Bo Nix always goes off against LSU.
It's one of those things.
But then also it's great to see him because I think he has the ability to make big play after big play. Not like consistently, but he always has that one play where it's like it just breaks the game open. And so I think if he keeps playing like this, we need him to have given the ball maybe just a little bit more because I feel like he's become I don't know, maybe number 3, number 4 back. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
After Logan Diggs, it's either Josh Williams, Caleb Jackson, or John Emery, probably right now.
Yeah.
So
it's a luxury right now.
yeah, it's a luxury, but I think Frank Willis has done a very good job of knowing who his number 1 is, and then also who to put in certain situations.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And then the offensive line, we got to give them their kudos too. I know they've been one of the semifinalists or quarterfinalists.
They're like semifinalists.
Yeah,
They're
semifinalists for the Joe Moore Award. And really this offensive line definitely deserves it. I truly believe that this offensive line is even better than the 2019 offensive line with Joe Burrow. Because
there's no question.
Yeah, just talking about like Joe Burrow really made up these guys. I thought that was a solid group, but I think Joe Burrow made them better than what they were. But with this offensive line is really special.
And you want to know this? Next year, the offensive line is going to be next year will be better than this year because you have Zalance hurt.
Right, and let's talk about that situation too, because Emery did leave the game with a high ankle sprain, and Lance Hurd came in, and I even asked Will about that yesterday about having 2 former Neville Tigers out there at left tackle and right tackle, but really you didn't really notice too much. There was a couple penalties here and there, but Lance Hurd, he felt just right in there with those guys up front on the offensive line.
He was the number 1 offensive lineman in the country last year, just like Will Campbell was. So imagine having to go against those guys
in high school.
oh my God! But going back to Zalance, Lance has always been. It was very evident during the fall camp that this guy may or may not see the field this year. Like he had a hell of a chance to see the field.
Oh, he did.
Because there's always injuries. You could move around the line because that's how deep the line is. Like you can move around some pieces. So we knew he was probably going to see the field eventually. It was no shocker that the offense was able to still move the ball efficiently up down the field, despite losing a guy like Emory Jones, who will be a first-round pick, along with Will Campbell. And then Lance Hurd, you're plugging Lance Hurd, who is just as good, or maybe you can make a case that they may be better than Will Campbell and Lance and Emory Jones, which.
That's kind of
Please don't beat me. Please don't beat me up. I'm sorry. Hey, this is opinion. This is the opinion talk show. This is my opinion. But you guys will all be first round draft picks. Okay, calm down. But that's what. But going back to what I said, next year's offensive line would be better than last year's because you literally have Lance Hurd, Will Campbell, and Emory Jones who all have chemistry, which is very important. And then even though you lose a guy like Charles Turner, you just plug in DJ Tubb.
He's looked good he's looked good since he's been there.
Yeah.
And really, we talk about those guys, right? We talk a lot about Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Lance Hurd, but really we had to say about Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier because they get lost in the shuffle. You don't talk about the guards, but they've been a key component to the success of this offense.
And a lot of our running plays are in the interior, so it's really important to have interior lineman like Charles Turner, Turner, by the way, just got nominated for quarterfinals or semifinals for the Allen Trophy, which is which is basically the Heisman Trophy for linemen, offensive and defensive.
I think he was like the Outland National Player of the Week or something like that, or the Outland Award.
So he's been a great center for us all year, especially when Brian Kelly came over. He kind of doubted Charles Turner because he felt like he was a little bit too small to be center. But, Charles Turner has proven that he is one of the best, not only the center for LSU, one of the best centers in the SEC, and maybe even one of the best centers in the country. Yeah. Because even the Outland Trophy is recognized in his performances as of late. So even though you lose a guy like Charles Turner and Miles Frazier, Garrett Dellinger might be back next year. We don't know what his, we don't know what he's going to do in terms of the NFL draft because he's just juniors, guys. So I think next year's line will be even better and there'll be more experience. And then Lance Hurd's just a a beast. Like he's a mauler.
Mm.
He's a mauler. That's what he is. The same thing. He's like Emory Jones is a mauler, but even more so is Lance. Just like imagine Emory Jones but bigger and wants to kill you.
And the thing about that is that Emory has played as well as he's been playing. That's not his typical position as guard. So you have him at guard and have Lance at tackle next year. Oh boy, this offensive line. I mean, the sky is the limit for that front five, and really the sky is the limit for this LSU offense. Brian Kelly will play you a quote right here. Brian Kelly was able to talk about the LSU offense and how everything has been able to click for those guys as a whole.
Bribe, I would say Mike Denbrock's role and how great the offense has been this year, and then the groove that he's kind of gotten into with this team over the past month.
Well, he's central to it because it's certainly coordinating it requires the the input and look, I'm a big believer that you don't really get a buy-in unless you get everybody to weigh in. So he's getting input from the entire offensive staff and then putting it together. It's never a one-man show. It's a collaborative and I think cohesive event when a coordinator's doing his job. If he's coming in early and scripting everything by himself and leaving everybody else to kind of wonder what's going on, usually have a group that has good days and bad days. This group is consistent, and it's because they all work together and everybody has a role. And credit to Mike's leadership and his ability to bring everybody in to the process. And then, his play calling. He matches play calls to players, gets the ball to the playmakers, and that's what this is about. This is not about, plays. This is about players, and I think he's hit both of those out of the park.
Yeah, and that was Brian Kelly talking about the offense and how everything's just been going swimmingly right now, and as swimmingly as Grant Chachere did with that water break, was able to knock that down in 45 seconds. So Grant, he talked about, as far as you didn't hear what he said, but basically what Brian Kelly did say was that this offense and how it's clicking. Everybody remembers the 2019 offense, right? How successful that offense was. But looking back at this year's offense, LSU fans may be a little spoiled about the offenses compared to 2019. But just enjoy. Brian Kelly's best was just enjoy this offense for what it is this year.
Can we stop comparing offenses to 2019? It gets a little cheesy. We keep hearing all these ESPN guys and Fox guys and these Twitter lists, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Say, the 2022 Tennessee offense is just like 2019's, and the Washington offense is just like 2019's. Look, I'm not dismissing the offense's performance, especially Washington's and LSU's, but just like Brian Kelly said, just enjoy it. Because offenses like these, they come and go, right? You know what I'm saying? They come and go, and then 2019, it's unfair to compare an offense to 2019, considering the fact that the two receivers are not in the top 5 in terms of receivers. Justin Jefferson may be the best receiver in the league. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's him and Tyreek Hill. Jamar Chase is definitely in the top 5. Joe Burrow is, one of the, even though he hasn't been performing well of late.
A lot of injuries.
A lot of it had to be injuries, and but going into the season, he was considered a top 5. Top 10, probably could make a case for a top 5 quarterback. He's right outside the top 5.
Oh, yeah.
This is a quarterback-driven league, so being right outside the top 5 is that's pretty, he's a pretty good quarterback. It's unfair because, one, if you compare a team to 2019, you're diminishing kind of what 2019 did, but then also you're kind of making an unfair comparison for the offense they are right now. Because the season's not even over yet. You can't make those comparisons until it's all said and done.
Right.
The reason why we can make a case of 2019 maybe the greatest offense or the greatest team ever, including the defense, is because they went 15-0 and they won the national championship and they were dominant all throughout the season. If you want to make a comparison like this year's Washington team, which I think is a fantastic team. Michael Penix is in the Heisman race. He's the front runner right now. They, in my opinion, they are the number 1 team in the country.
I agree.
But at the same time, Let's wait till the season's over, and then we can make those comparisons. But yeah, going back to the LSU's offense, they're incredible. Jane Daniels, I mean, he might put up the single greatest performance for a quarterback in NCAA history. I mean, he's going to run for over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he will.
And he's going to probably get to about 4,500.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell you how many quarterbacks have done that.
Not many. I mean,
he might be the only one.
Yeah, I mean, in 1 year to do both of that, I mean, that's really tough to do. And right now, good thing, I'm glad I didn't jinx him for at least a week with that article I put up in the middle of the year about him being in contention for the Heisman. But yeah,
there's still time.
There's still time, but like,
damn it, Chase.
But I mean, like, for the middle of the season, you have to put him up there. I said disregard the record. Don't pay any attention to the record. Jane Daniels is right there at the very top when it comes to the Heisman Trophy right now. Mm-hmm. So that's what I have to say. And then, yeah, we talk about the offense, and they put 48 points. They scored a touchdown in every second half drive. They did what they've been doing all year long. Mm-hmm. Ever since the Grambling game was when they really got going. But when we talk about the defensive side of the football, that has been a disappointment all year long. But the question going into this game was, something's got to give. Auburn's offense has not been good. LSU's defense hasn't been good. Something has to give. And fortunately for LSU and their fans, they get to see LSU's defense really step up. They gave up two touchdown drives in the game, but besides that, everything else, 3 and out, punt, like a lot of 3 and outs, a lot of forced punts on third and fourth down. So it was a great performance on that side of the football. What did you see that was different from last week?
Well, I can't really say that, they improved, they did this and that, because Auburn's offense is horrible. Mm-hmm. Horrible. Maybe the one bright spot that Auburn had in offense was, Jeremiah Cobb rushed had 10 carries for 69 yards because it's funny. Okay,
yeah.
69.
No, of course you have to go there, Grant.
Yeah.
As mature of them as all as Grant Chachere.
Yeah, but I would say this though: the defense, it seemed like they were played with a little more fire. Mm-hmm. It seemed like they played with a lot more dog in them. It seemed like they would want to go, during a break. If they needed water, they'd go to the faucet in there and drink some water like I did. Because I was thirsty. I need some water because I'm speaking a whole lot. And I blame this fool for making me lose water in my mouth. Caused me to have cotton mouth. Damn it, Jace. But anyway, going back to the defense. But going with the defense, they played with a lot more fire. They completely shut down Auburn. They made sure that game was not close whatsoever. And that was the objective. Tackle well. Because all Auburn could do is run the ball. And they shut down the run game. And they forced Auburn to pass the ball. And they were inefficient. I mean, Peyton Thorne, 12 of 23 for 102 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, Peyton Thorne isn't the greatest quarterback in the world, but they made him throw for, just maybe under 50% of passing. I mean,
just over 100 yards. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty incredible.
I mean, third down. That's probably the best thing.
Yeah, that was
3
the best
of
thing.
12 on third down.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 weeks, they've greatly improved on third down. It was a meme that, like, LSU, if they got to third or 11, they're like,
here we go. 50-yard play.
Yeah, 50-yard touchdown pass, 50-yard run. The whole, we all saw it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we all saw. I don't have to explain what happened.
Don't let the Tiger fans have their nightmares. We love those nightmares again.
Exactly. I'm not like you, where you basically have to force feed them nightmarish outcomes of the Ole Miss game or whatever. But anyway, I think that was the biggest improvement of in terms of LSU's defense. But then also I think we have to give a shout out to Pete Jenkins. I think the defensive line looks much better. They're playing with a lot more ferocity. It seems like their technique's been better. They're playing close to their line.
They're getting the passing lanes too. They're knocking down a lot of passes.
Right, exactly. And I think, I get it that we should have hired Pete Jenkins earlier. I think everyone agrees with that now. That move
considering the circumstances.
That move should have been made during the fall camp when Jimmy Lindsey went down with his health scare. Jimmy Lindsey, prayers for Jimmy Lindsey. He seems to be doing a lot better.
He's recruiting still.
He's recruiting still.
Yeah.
He actually followed me on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
yeah.
I actually know Jimmy. Got to know Jimmy because my dad used to coach with him at Western Kentucky for a year.
Yep.
And the reason why Brian Kelly hired him was because not only could he develop defensive linemen pretty well, he's a very good developer, but he's also a hell of a recruiter, and he knows the Georgia South Carolina pipeline, which is an area that Brian Kelly really likes to get into because, like Louisiana, Georgia has a lot of talent per capita, and it's a very rich area. So Brian Kelly wants to hit home that because that's also one of Brian Kelly's main recruiting areas was at Notre Dame because they have to recruit nationally. So but shout out to Pete Jenkins. He's been a great help to
the legend,
the Bill Belichick of defensive line coach.
Yep.
For anybody not familiar who Pete Jenkins is, he is the Bill Belichick of defensive line coaches.
Absolutely, yeah. He's done an excellent job with those guys, and you can tell just over the last couple of weeks technique and getting his guys in the right position. Fitting their run fits too has been much better as well. So LSU does the defense line doesn't look as lost or out of position. So a lot of that credit goes to Pete Jenkins. And really looking at, I thought just the communication was better. And we get a good view of it from the press box because you can kind of get a bird's eye view of everything. But every time I noticed when Peyton Thorne, let's say he rolled outside the pocket. Major Burns or whoever was in coverage stayed on their guy. They didn't put, and a lot of times Major Burns saw the quarterback running, and he would have gone after him, but he stayed on his guy, knowing that somebody else was going to do his job. And that was the big proponent of what Brian Kelly was saying about those guys doing their own job, and I noticed that too. Is that I think they're starting to buy in that message more about just doing your job and relying on your teammates to go and do that job for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'll pay dividends down the line too, because obviously you got an Army team that is coming up. That's what we'll eventually talk about.
Sure.
They got a pretty good option quarterback, even though they don't run the traditional triple option offense like they used to. They're still a triple option team at heart, and so that'll pay dividends when you go against a team like that. And I think they'll perform well. But also it kind of the Army game I feel like gives you a precursor to what the Alabama game will be like because Alabama. I know that Jalen Milroe has been improving as of late, but he still has those inconsistency problems. And I think the way Jalen Milroe plays will be very similar to how Auburn plays. So I think that Army plays. So I think this game would be this Army game would be very important to see where the defense is in terms of guarding mobile quarterbacks. And obviously you have the Army, then you have the bye week, then you have Bama. So pretty tense next 3 weeks, Jace.
Yeah, it really is.
If you're around Baton Rouge and the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, it's going to be a big part of how the Tiger season's going to come up the second half of the final stretch. And we got one more quote from Brian Kelly before we talk about Army, more about that matchup, and that is really the defensive side of the football. There was something interesting, unique that we've been following around ever really since the Missouri game, and that was the defensive clapping penalty we've been seeing a whole lot. So Brian Kelly addressed that. I'm sure we'll talk about that penalty too, what we think about that. But this is here what Brian Kelly had to say about that penalty.
Those calls, because that just keeps happening. Do you have to, not to try to get you in trouble, but do you have to?
Don't. You pick out these things just to get me in trouble.
No. Do you have to do something differently in terms?
We're
going to
bring an air horn out there, I guess. Look, I've had a long conversation with John McDade about this. I think it's ridiculous. We had a safety that was clapping to our corner to get his attention, and we got it called. I said, look, we'll come up with another way of trying to communicate. If you're in the front seven, my opinion is if you're in the front seven and you're clapping, that's disconcerting. You're in the core of the defense, you're in the front. To me, you're trying to simulate a snap. But if you're 12 yards deep trying to communicate with a corner, I just don't get it. But we're going to have to come up with another way of communicating. We actually had a meeting on it today. It's loud even at home. I mean, it's just generally loud at home. So we're actually going to take some safeguards to communicate because we did have a false start because we couldn't hear our ready call. We're in verbal cadence on offense because we don't expect to go nonverbal at home. But we actually couldn't hear down by the end zone. So that's on us. We have to communicate, and we met on it this morning, and we'll have a communication system that works.
Yeah, that's Brian Kelly talking about the defense and that really delay a game penalty that we've seen. We've seen it every now and then, but it's been crazy how much that penalty's been called the last couple of weeks. First, I get my thoughts on it, and Grant, you can elaborate on this penalty. But I feel like with this penalty being called, it makes a lot of sense if it's coming from a defensive lineman or a linebacker when the offensive line trying to simulate the snap count, get the offensive lineman to jump off sides a lot of times. But for it to be called on a cornerback or a safety that's trying to communicate with his other guys in the back end, and there's a lot of communication going on in the defensive backfield, I think that's where the penalty, doesn't need to be involved or called. So, what are your thoughts on that penalty being called as of late against LSU?
That's just the refs are trash.
that's a pretty easy explanation.
I mean, like they've been trash. I mean. Like, not to beat a dead horse of how bad their SEC refs are. I mean, all you got to, honestly, if you're an SEC fan or LSU fan out there, just look up SEC shorts refs. If you haven't seen, Jace knows what I'm talking about. Because the SEC refs for the last few years have been awful. Awful. And I think this has been brought up before by many different people, but the refs need to have their own press conference to explain why they
I totally agree.
I mean, because it's just like there's no to me. If you put them in front of media members, I feel like there's a lot more accountability because those are where the tough questions will be asked. Me and you are always gonna ask the tough questions because that's what we do. We're reporters, we're beat writers for LSU, and we cover a bunch of different things. So we're not afraid to ask the tough questions to people we feel like need to be criticized just a tad bit. Okay, but this is a ridiculous. I get that if it was a defensive line or the linebackers doing the line of scrimmage and they're just like,
yeah, I get that.
But
if
you have a safety who's up in the air and clapping, trying to get in touch of a cornerback who's dumb and doesn't know the play call,
in front of 100,000 people, it's
who are also
fans.
screaming like, oh! I mean, it's a tough place to play. And then when you're on the defense and you're trying to get somebody's attention. And they're all loud.
So if the fans are clapping, don't you call the penalty on the fans for making the snap count?
Exactly. Are you going to call the penalty on the fans? By the way, that was a rule. They could actually back in the 8. I'm not sure when they changed it, but back then, if the fans were too loud during the offensive possession, like the opposing offensive possession, they would call a penalty. They don't do that anymore because they realize it's stupid. Mm-hmm. So I don't get the call. Let's move on to Army because I'm about to be pissed. So look what this man made me do. He made me pissed. Move on. Army, West Point, Black Knights. Let's go.
So the penalty, Greg. I'm moving on. Don't get riled up too much. We want to still have Grant with us. I tell you, don't have him suffer a heart attack or anything. But yeah, let's talk about the Army game. It's very unique, Grant, because this is only the second time these two teams have ever played. And it's going to be the first time Army will be playing in Tiger Stadium. It's going to be, I guess, like maybe a soccer-friendly type atmosphere.
Soccer-friendly?
I mean...
do you watch soccer?
Well, no. That should answer my question there. But it's not going to be LSU versus Bama just hating on Bama and all these obscenities and all these expletives called when the Army comes in with a lot of young men battling for our country, battling for freedom. So obviously the fans going to be showing a lot of respect to our Army, but I'm just curious how all this is going to play out when the type of atmosphere is going to be on Saturday.
So going back to the soccer friendly thing, I don't think Jace doesn't watch soccer. I do. Great, you may not know. Yes, I'm open and willing to watch other sports. My favorite team is Liverpool by chance, and we're doing very well, except I'm just going to wait to be heartbroken by the end of the year when we choke the lead to Man City or some team like that. But soccer friendlies aren't just because they're friendly doesn't mean they're friendly. The only time they're friendly is a team from England and a team from Chile play against each other. Then that's a friendly because they have no hatred towards each other. All right.
In that sense, yeah.
So I think this is what the game's like. Okay. Mm-hmm. However, I will say this: if you're in the student section or in the stands, in the press box, it doesn't matter. if you boo Army coming out the tunnel,
You're booing your own country.
you're a traitor, you're un-American, and you can go to hell. I'm just joking. But seriously, it's just stupid. Shut up, watch the game, drink some Coke. These guys are going to be sacrificing their lives for our great country. Yes, do we all have criticisms of our country? Yes, that's why we're citizens. We complain about everything about this country. But what we can't complain about is the amount of time and efforts these cadets go through when they're in the military academies. You know, they don't have any fun. They may have fun,
I'm about to say,
they don't. But so for example, like Brian Kelly mentioned this a lot at the press conference. Playing a college football game on their Saturdays is their off day.
Yeah.
Because Monday through Friday it's school, push-ups, more crunches, more push-ups, more crunches. Then you got maybe some drill sergeant yelling at you. Probably not. But they also take some advanced classes. They take like warfare classes with a lot of math, which I don't want to do.
No, there's no way.
It's not
There's
fun.
no way.
So it's like a full-time commitment. It's a commitment, man. So these are what those guys go through. But let's just talk about the Army team for a second. So kind of going through their stats. Like Brian Kelly said, the offense is led by the quarterback Bryson Daly. Now the quarterback, obviously the offense will always run through the quarterback, of course. I mean that's the way offenses work. However, in an option offense, they're the ones getting the most carries, the ones getting the most reps. They have to make sure the offense flows smoothly. Like they're basically the cook. They're the chefs. You gotta let them cook because they got some little trickeration going on here. And it's an option offense. You think they can hand off the fullback? Nah, the quarterback keeps it. You think he's gonna go up the field? Nah, he's gonna pitch it to the pitch man. So, it's a very even though they don't run the traditional offense.
And there's a reason for it. We're going to go and
right. We'll go. I think Jace is going to go into that, but they can't run the traditional flex run triple option. But they still are a triple option team at heart. You're still going to see a lot of triple option concepts in there. It may be out of the spread, it may be out of the flex bone, it may be out of the pistol. You're going to see something. I'm not saying they run all these things. I haven't really looked at Army's film or whatever, but that's what teams do. Georgia Southern, when they went to D1, they went from running a flex bone type of offense to a spread option, triple option offense. So you're going to see some variations of it, but I think Jace is going to explain why they had to change some of their offensive concepts.
Yeah, the NCAA passed a rule about that. The cut block, which is really a big key component about running the triple option, that is pretty much being outlawed. So they can't really run the triple option because that's a whole huge piece.
This game's gone soft.
Yep. So, yeah, they're trying to make sure everybody's safe. It's a safety thing. So that's a big reason why they can't run that the triple option. Why it's more of a you're gonna see more of a spread and it's going to be some instances of the triple option being worked in it, but it's going to be more of a modern day type of offense when you see Army, which is going to be weird seeing that, knowing they've seen so many Army Navy games with the triple option, to see them run a lot of spread concepts. It is going to be unique to see that too in Tiger Stadium on Saturday.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too is that this team really hasn't seen a triple option offense before. I think that would be very interesting going to the game. I know Army's 2-4 going this game, but they play some of those Power 5 teams tough.
Including Boston College, and you go back and look at Boston College really gave Florida State all they can handle.
Now, Boston College is a good team, but some better examples would be a few years ago, they almost
Oklahoma.
should be Oklahoma, but they should have beat Michigan too.
Yeah.
Because they were leading against Michigan. They were leading against Oklahoma, but that was more of a fourth game. They were literally leading against Michigan a few years ago. So they're not afraid of going against some of the bigger teams. And they also are led by a very good head coach in Jeff Monken.
Yeah, he is.
So he's a fantastic coach. Army, growing up for me, they were always
been
bad. They were just bad.
Yeah.
They were just bad. From 2000...
Navy owned that whole series.
Yeah, it was almost like the Tennessee-Florida series. Army never won. And from the time I was born till about, let's say 2013, 2014 or whatever, 2015. They only went to one bowl game, and they barely made it. They had to they finished the season 6-6, so they barely made the bowl game, and they ended up winning. But one bowl, and then I think it was really it's one bowl game from like 1993 to like
Yeah, it was
2015, something
it was-
crazy
it was
like that. It was
something crazy.
22 years. Yeah, they were a bad football program, but Jeff Munkins come in, and they've won. You know, they've had like 3 or 4 9-win seasons. They've been very successful. I think they even had a 10-win season. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they've been very successful. This is kind of a down year for them.
And they beat Houston bad. And,
70-0. Yeah, they got the head coach fired.
That's what got Major
70-0.
Applewhite going.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Major Applewhite, Baton Rouge native, Catholic boy, just like
Yeah,
Jason
Catholic
himself.
high guy.
You always have to bring in Calico
Oh,
in
yeah.
the conversation.
All right, shout out Matt Moscona. Kai.
And you should put on Matt Moscona.
There you
Put
go.
on Matt Moscona during the show, but obviously he's busy. You know, right
Uh-huh.
now he's shooting at AFR, unfortunately. But you got a Calico guy right here too. Unfortunately for everyone else, because he's got to rub it in everybody's faces.
Mm-hmm.
And your phone dropped. See what happened? And your phone dropped. Get your stuff together, Jace. Come on.
You
man.
picked that up. You're my intern.
I'm not picking stuff. But you have anything else to say about Army, Jace?
No, nothing really. It should be a really good atmosphere, and Brian Kelly even said that he's going to put in a couple of pregame festivities as well, and there's going to be a lot of there's going to probably be a flyover, and
brother.
So it's going to be American as it gets before the game starts.
Into the
Danger zone. Yep. Get to play maybe a proud to be an American. Like
yeah. But by the way, and also I don't think you guys have seen this, but One Team One Podcast posted that the end zones are going to be like camouflage.
Oh, okay.
So
That'll be pretty cool.
It's a big week for everybody here in Louisiana because this is only the second time LSU played Army.
I think it's the first time in Tiger Stadium.
The first time they played Army was in 1931.
Yeah.
I don't think your grandparents were even alive then.
No.
So like that's just how long ago, and it resulted in the Army win. So
yeah, my great grandmother was still a young kid.
Yeah.
So it's going back. It's going back a while.
Exactly, and I think it's a great game because not only that, it's like how many times do you get to see LSU play a Service Academy? I mean, this is a big
It's
deal
rare
for everybody, and especially like a program like Army. There's not a lot of times where you see Army coming to town, Air Force and Navy. So I think it's gonna be a lot of fanfare because not only it's just LSU fanfare, but patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
The United States of America. Those guys, like I said before, a lot of those guys, after they graduate from college, they're not going to the NFL like a lot of other colleges, or even having normal jobs. They're going out and going to sacrifice their lives for this great country. I think that's going to be a major theme going into the game Saturday. Of course, everyone expects LSU to win. They should.
Yeah.
And if they do lose, what is going on?
I mean, LSU football is going to be saying, "Oh, we respect the hell out of y'all, but we're going to beat the hell out of y'all for 60 minutes."
Guess what? And let's be honest, LSU cannot be soft at this game because they serve the great country. And this is the first time, obviously, LSU has played the Service Academy. So it's like, you don't, maybe I should go easy on them, blah blah blah. Because they're gonna have that. They're gonna have that mindset. But guess what? They want to kick your butt too.
Trust me,
they want to kick your butt. They're taking all the anger that they maybe like. Drill Sergeant Johnson has been given to all week. Yeah, but like, I'm not saying that stuff happens. I'm stereotyping here, but you get the point. This is their off day on Saturday, so you still got to go out there and play your ball game, and then also
don't look ahead. I mean, you got to focus. You got to focus on this game.
Get all your kinks out this week, and then you also have the bye week, so you have a little get your kinks out more during the bye week and get some rest.
Get your stars out. Take control of the game early. Get your stars out.
Get healthy. Some guys are going to sit this game because they're trying to save their energy for Alabama, and that's going to be a hassle because one's Alabama, but you're going to Tuscaloosa. Although I say this, the last two meetings in Tuscaloosa were close. 2019.
Yeah.
That was the game 46-41 game.
And 2021.
2021, which is a game, by the way, as bad as LSU was that whole entire year, that was probably one of the better games that year. They should have won.
Yeah.
But of course, Coach O and Max Johnson, they had to screw it up for everybody. What's his name? TDP had a great game. Everyone had a great game, but Max Johnson.
Fake punt. What was it?
And Coach O like going off field like, yeah, like they won the Super Bowl. I'm like, dude, we lost. To our biggest rival. But you get what I'm saying. That's how big this game is going to be against Bama. But let's not look ahead. We just finished talking about Army. Let's go in the bye week. They have to do what they have to do to stay healthy and beat folks with Alabama, because that game is going to determine the SEC West. Because Ole Miss is going to lose again. I think they got Georgia this week or next week.
Yeah.
They got a couple other tough games. And then also, who else? And then A&M, you got to play in A&M. So, well, A&M's out the picture now.
Yeah.
But, I would say out the picture, but
it's about a 3-team race right now.
Right.
I mean, it's getting clear about what the SEC West is going to be. And like you said, ultimately it's probably going to go down to LSU and Alabama, as it's been since the last decade, or more.
Longer than that.
About 20 years, really.
2008.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's there's been what kind of rivalry it's been.
Because the SEC West winners have either been Alabama, LSU, or even Auburn. Whenever they have some lucky season, like 2010 was
about it.
They 2010 they had Cam Newton, and 2013 they had a miracle season. And by the way, just to rub it in Auburn's faces, we beat you guys that year before you guys won the national championship.
That's right.
Yeah, Jeremy Hill, baby, let's go. Baby.
I'm about to say, catch you up for a second. Yeah. So, LSU looking for another win and try and get, like I said, 4-2 last year. Same point. They're trying to get on another run, maybe for another SEC West championship. But I just posted an article about this on Gridiron Football USA.com. But it was not only a big weekend on the field for LSU, but it was a big weekend in recruiting too. LSU got 2 commitments after the game, and there are a lot of big names that took visits to LSU. The first one is Teron Francis, Manchild, I believe is his nickname. He's a guy from your area that you're covering, New Orleans, in the car. Algiers. So it's Teron's. West Bank. He's a great football player, wide receiver, a 4-star in the 2025 class, and he's a special player, and it's just like in the car. I mean, they just keep on producing guys at the receiver level, and you see right there with the the hurdle there. I mean, just very incredible to see what this guy can do in open space, and how scary in the car is. Matter of fact, seeing all those skill position players. But Teron Francis, he was one. He's a 2025 commitment. The second wide receiver that's committed in the 2025 class. So LSU is their 2025 class is looking really good right now. They're in the top 5, and really, I mean, the future looks really bright at the skill positions.
And I think this is a smart move by. I think it was a smart move to offer him, because he's got some offers from Florida State, Michigan, Mississippi State, A&M, and Ole Miss. So when those big schools kind of come in your area, you have to know that guy's probably pretty good. So I think, it's smart, but, by this coaching staff to get on him early before he gets big, because he has a chance to become really big. And you saw something similar with Kylan Billio. Billy, remember, was like a 3-star guy, but then all of a sudden, over the summer, he started building up the rankings.
Yeah, I interviewed him before, even Louisiana Tech offered him. So at the beginning of that year. So it's crazy how quickly that can really come about.
Right, exactly. And same thing happened with Dominic McKinley. McKinley was like a 3-star guy, but then he got bigger, and then his technique and all of his abilities got better. This guy's legit the number 1 player out of the state of Louisiana, and became a 5-star overnight, pretty quickly. So, I think, it's a smart move by LSU. Hit him early before anybody else can find out who they are, and that way you build those relationships that you need.
And we talk about he's only one, so the 2025 commitment, but LSU also got a big boost in 2024 in C.J. Jackson. He's a Georgia native, and it was actually at one point a Georgia Tech commit. And so a lot of people were saying, a Georgia Tech commit, that's it? That's what we got? But no, this guy can really play. Was a top 100 defensive end in the class of 2024. He's got a lot of big offers, and really another key piece on the defensive end position for the LSU Tigers. And Matt House has done an excellent job of recruiting him, and really he just recently, I believe, decommitted from Georgia Tech and was looking at some of his options. So coming in from Tucker High School in Tucker, Georgia, and he's been a really good football player for him, and a guy that was really sneaking on LSU's radar. And you need guys like that because of defensive line is going to be kind of you're pretty good at that position now, but moving forward, you may lose Mason Smith, you may lose McConnell Wingo, you may lose a lot of those guys. So you need to look at that defensive line, and LSU got a spot right now.
Right, also, it's a fantastic job, but, not only Matt House, kind of looking like to see who he kind of wants, the type of players he wants. But also give credit to Frank Wilson. Frank Wilson was a major player in this recruitment. Decommitted for Georgia Tech and come to LSU. Even though you think, we only committed to Georgia Tech, let me tell you something. Like I said earlier in the show, those Georgia guys
they're players.
They're players. They're very. I think in terms of the talent and talent per capita, Louisiana and Georgia are very similar. There's a lot of talent in both the states in this area that Brian Kelly wants to hit. That's why one of the main reasons why he hired Jimmy Lindsey. Not only because he's a great coach, but he knows the areas of Georgia so pretty well. So I think that's Georgia has become a major player, a major populated state for LSU outside of Louisiana.
Yeah, it really is. And those are just two of the commitments. You can read more about that on the website.
And also, there's another big news, too. Draylon Miller, wide receiver, committed to A&M.
A&M, yep.
And that came. The thing is, that came hours after JoJo Stone decommitted.
Yeah, JoJo Stone, yep.
Decommitted. And then, I was like,
Andre Evans also decommitted.
Andre Evans also decommitted, too. But I'm talking about JoJo Stone because receivers. And, those type of guys were always going to decommit because, he's from Tennessee. You probably want to stay closer to home, yada, yada. But in terms of the receivers, one of the biggest reasons why rumors are that the reason why Draylon Miller could decommit is because, he also took the visit over the past week into Auburn, so he probably saw the environment and everything. But then also, Draylon Miller's dad apparently was college teammates with Cortez Hankton, the current wide receivers coach at LSU. Texas Southern. So I think there's a relationship built there. And then also A&M's looking really shaky too. That we don't know what's going to happen with them. Jimbo, they're 4-3 right now. They may lose another game. And you already know. And the thing is, they are probably building up that $65 million or $70 million needed to fire Jimbo. Which is a lot of money, but that's what happens when we have oil money.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys. Terry Bussing was actually at LSU as well. Gabriel Rutherford was there. That's another defensive lineman. So I thought that was a great weekend. And you can read more about it on their website. But that was a great weekend for LSU in recruiting. 102,000 people. Yep. Great atmosphere. LSU, the entire stadium was at its peak. Obviously, LSU dominated the game. So really everything came together for a great recruiting weekend.
And also LSU moved up to, after all the stuff that happened this past weekend, LSU's now number 6 in the on-3 recruiter rankings.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big job. And 24/7, they're 12th. I mean, but that's how just some of these different recruiter rankings.
They're top 10.
But they're a legit top 10 recruiting class. We already knew that this recruiting class wasn't going to be stacked like it usually was because, in my opinion, this is not like what I've heard. I think this is my opinion. Brian Kelly's really trying to hit the state of Louisiana hard. Remember, this is really only his second full recruiting class.
Cycle. Yeah.
And, he's not from here. He's not from the South. He's not from Louisiana. He is considered Yankee, like a lot of people say down here. He's from up north, similar to Nick Saban. But the way Nick Saban was able to build those relationships, not only at LSU, but, eventually when he got to Alabama, was because he just started going around the same, talking to coaches and trying to build those relationships. Because you need to build those relationships if you want to keep A&M and Texas and Alabama away from your guys.
Yeah.
So, also 2025, 2026, and 2027 are going to be absolutely stacked, including 2026. 3 of the top 10 players for the class of 2026 are in the state of Louisiana. Raheem Stewart, who's the number 1 player in the 2026 class, right down in St. Augustine, New Orleans.
Yep, you were there to cover him.
The U-High,
Lamar Brown.
Lamar Brown, he's an offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Yeah, he's a 5-star guy. I think he's ranked number 5 and number 6. Yeah. And then Blaine Bradford.
Right.
Yeah, Ryan Calicut, another Bad Bradford's guy. So, Calicut, here we go again.
Calicut!
Oh, God, here we go again. So Brian Kelly knows this. He's being smart about it. You need to build those relationships with these Louisiana coaches. I think that's the most important thing right now. Because these next 3 classes, you don't want anybody to leave this damn state.
Yeah, and really Al State too. They've been getting some big prospects. I mean, the biggest name was Bryce Underwood, from this past for 2025, and a lot of people are saying it's probably going to either come down between LSU and Michigan. So I feel like he enjoyed himself a lot this weekend too. He was on the jumbotron, so it was really good to see that.
And then also, if you look at what Jane Daniels is doing, you're like, damn, look at what Jane Daniels is doing compared to. Not saying Jason McCarthy's a bad quarterback, he's a great quarterback at Michigan. But look how LSU's playing. Look at LSU's playing. Oh, I get to play with these receivers, these centers, these running backs, this offensive line.
Rated G.
Rated G.
Rated G for Grant. That's what I say. So yeah, we're running out of time. I know we like to talk for a long time, so we've been about an hour. So any final thoughts on the Army game? Any final score prediction? Anything like that?
We're gonna win.
All right, there you go. Simple as that. I need to cut it short anyway,
Yeah.
so I think LSU wins pretty convincingly. I'll have a preview up on the website, GridironFootballUSA.com. Appreciate Grant. Always a pleasure, my man.
Sure.
Yep, it was great. We're going to have more shows, obviously, down the road, too. So hopefully y'all enjoyed the show. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to give us a follow on our social media, too. Make sure to go to the website, GridironFootballUSA.com. And we'll see y'all next week when we talk about LSU Army win, and then move ahead, talk about that Bama game coming up in a couple weeks. So for Grant Chachere, I'm Jace LeJeune. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you all next time on The Chase with Jace.